It's not just about romanticizing about writing, it's about getting those words on that page. Hello and welcome to the first step of your writing journey. My name is Roberto Scarlato. I am an audiobook narrator and an author. The first thing you're going to want to do is get your tools together. What do I write with? What do I write on? There are some people who like to write with pencil. John Irving does it. So did Thomas Wolfe. As a matter of fact, he used to write on unlined paper on the top of his fridge or icebox and then just toss the papers into a crate. Same thing with James Patterson. He has a fresh set of blue pencils with erasers, a desk, and he writes them out all longhand on white paper. Sue Grafton, when she was writing the Kinsey Millhone series, she was writing by pencil too, but she did it on legal pads. When I first started out writing, I used these babies right here. These are the Rollerball 2 pens, 0.7 millimeters. And the thing that I like about them is that they're so fluid and they're the perfect fit in your hand. I love these when I'm signing stuff because everything is just very slick and it looks nice on the page. Now, you may be asking yourself, what do I write on? You can use little pieces of paper, post-it notes, maybe little points in the story where you could remind yourself, oh, this happens later on in the book, I should post this up on the wall. Post-it notes are fairly inexpensive. Now, if you're looking for something that will give you a lot of volume, I do suggest these. And honestly, this is 150 sheets of paper right here. Small, I know, but you could probably get a novella out of this. And here's another thing. I used to write on these moleskins. This was given to me by my girlfriend, now she's my wife. It says it's made in Italy. And you can see, you could do drawings. I did notes of a story. This was actually notes of a novel that I did where I later renamed it and I took out 20,000 words of what I considered fluff. And it ended up being sharper. But when I wanted to do highlights on the points of what would happen in the novel, this is what I turned to. Here I got notes for a short story. This is actually the first short story that I ever wrote in my short story collection. Here's notes I have for my third novel that I ever wrote, Pickpocket Frankie. So you can keep it when you have an idea and need to whip this out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
I think it's got about 100 pages to it, so yeah, and it's got a strap. This is loose now from age, but when you're in a pinch, you can't go wrong with this. If you're really loving the whole writing on lined bits of paper thing, you can get something like this. These are legal pads, and as you can see, they're yellow, lined. This is a short story that I wrote. I actually lost this short story. I'm glad that I found this. And of course, there's these babies, where they give you like 150 sheets. A little bit bigger, blue lined. This is actually part of a story that I'm repurposing called The House of Ill Will. So this started as just one page of a story that I tried to write when I was, I think, 12 years old. But now I'm old enough and I've gained more experience that I'm actually going to repurpose the story and write it as a serious thriller and horror. You can always get these 5-star spiral ones. These I recommend for when you're jotting down lists and quick plot points. And of course there's also these where it has a clear front, so you can just flip it over like a reporter from the 1930s.
Your cat did what, Mrs. Harris?
And just write to your heart's content. You may be saying to yourself, well, why can't I just write on a laptop? That's perfectly fine. Most often people do, especially writers in today's age. But the thing that I see most often with writing on laptops is that it decreases your productivity because there are so many distractions. You know, you'd be writing a book and then all of a sudden, oh, what's on Facebook or what's on YouTube, or oh, let me search something on Google. Let me check my email. And the more time you spend on all of those other different things, you are spending less time on actually writing the damn book and getting it done. So if you want to put in the time, some dedicated writing time, you have to be very strict with yourself, disable the internet so that you can devote an hour or 500 words, whichever comes first. You can write a story on pretty much anything. I actually did an experiment where I wrote an entire novella, 100 pages, on a BlackBerry phone. similar to this one. Yep, I had one of those, and it was a pain because my fingers are gigantic. Look at how small those keys are. I was very committed to writing a chapter a day for like 20 different days. So I committed myself, and yes, the chapters were short, but it got the point across. There is a plethora of distraction-free writing tools. One of them I actually got for a birthday gift from my mother, father, friend, and my wife. They all chipped in and they got me this thing right here. It's called the Freewrite Traveler, and it's made by Astra House. It's got a full keyboard. It gives you 3 separate folders. It claims that you can write or fit about 1 million words on this thing. Now, as you can see right here, the screen is actually an e-ink screen. And what that means is that unlike a laptop, which can give you enormous eye strain, this thing is actually easier on the eyes. So that means that you can write for longer periods. So I highly recommend this. At the moment, I think you can get it for $500. When I would recommend their other one, if you have the dough to dish out on their Freewrite standard version, which actually looks like a typewriter, or you can spend the money on the Hemingwrite, which is like $900, and you could drop this thing a bunch of times and it'll still work. Now, I've written 2 books on this, Father Midnight, and that was about 65,000 words, and I also wrote High Stakes Frankie on this, and that was around same, 65,000 words, and 2 novellas, Path of the Founder and The Digital Novelist, if I'm not mistaken. I also wrote The Christmas Crooner, which is a holiday novella. I just wanted to write like a cute Christmas-themed story. You can get those on Amazon. But I wrote so much on this that I think I broke it. This is the Alphasmart 3000. Basically it works in the same way as a typewriter. You turn it on, it tells you what the battery life is, and you can edit with this. You can scroll, and if you messed up, you can go back and change something quick. I've written on it for a little while. But one thing that I didn't like is that even though the keys are alright, they do have a tendency to get really clunky. You know, you have to press down with a certain amount of weight. I didn't like that I didn't know how many words I was writing in each session. So I traded this and bought this. This is the Alphasmart Neo 2. You can actually pick these up, both the Alphasmart 3000 and this, for maybe like 30 or 40 bucks on eBay. It works off of batteries just like that, and you can literally see each file. It holds up to 8 files, and each file can hold 10,000 words. And for my dime, that works pretty well to use temporarily while my Freewrite is getting fixed. It kind of has the typeface of a calculator, but as you can see, so long as you have good lighting, or if you want to write in the daylight, the words are legible and you can see, and most importantly, there's no strain on the eye. And you can also check your progress. You click Control W, and it tells you how many words, how many paragraphs, how many pages you have written. Oh, and you press Escape to get out of that. They have a short key map right on the back of it. And the thing that I love most about this is the keys are a lot more natural. I mean, you don't have to press really hard in order to write. And that's important, I find, too, when you're writing stories. Most people, they really like the tactile feel of writing. So whether it's typing, whether it's writing it out with a pen, whatever feels most comfortable to you, use that as your writing tool. Of course, let's not forget classical ways of writing. There are people that will still use typewriters. As a matter of fact, there are people that still collect them. It's not just the novelty, but it's also feeling those words punch through that paper. You actually feel like you're getting stuff done. And there was a man who proved it. Tom Hanks collected so many typewriters. He said that he loved writing on these typewriters, and he actually wrote a book of short stories called Uncommon Type. Every single one of those stories actually features a typewriter. I used to own a typewriter. It was a Smith & Corona, I believe, from the 1920s. I typed a couple of poems on there, but I knew that it wasn't really my thing. I couldn't really focus. I knew that I loved typing, I loved the feel of the keys, I loved the sound that it made, I loved the dinging, all that stuff. But as far as getting the most words out of me and being productive, it fell flat. And I know that about myself. What you have to do is you have to think, how is the best possible way that I can get these words out? And try that. Because in this game of writing stories, you have to be committed. It's not just about romanticizing about writing, it's about getting those words on that page. You could blame the tools that you have, but I think that's an easy way to take a day off. I mean, I have had times where I wasn't capable of writing, but I know it was me, not the tools that I was using. And if one of my tools broke down, I tried to switch over to another one. I tried to have a backup. Whatever you're comfortable with, that will be your asset. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions about this episode, please leave them in the comments. The next lesson will be to prologue or not to prologue. We'll see. Ciao.